the choice of music seems actually quite fitting. So yeah, this is the Christmas special 2024 of Doctor Who, Joy to the World. I yeah, don't quite know what to make of this. Mixed, I think is my reaction. Certainly it's a episode that didn't go entirely in the direction I thought it would. In typical Moffat fashion, it was trying to tell multiple different concepts, and the plot just seemed an excuse to do that. I mean, you could probably summarize this a story by exploring the concepts that it tries to go through. The idea of a hotel that each room is a different time. I mean, each of these concepts could be its own episode. That's like very typical of Moffat. So the idea of a hotel where each of its rooms is a different time period. The idea of a doctor being stuck to live on Earth for a year. It's not something that's new. I think it's been done a few times, but obviously it's a whole concept that you can explore in its entirety. Having to not just live for an entire year, but live. I mean, it's like the Lodger essentially, but with a much more likable cast member and better chemistry. The idea of the Velengard trying to like use time travel to like create a sun, and something or other of that. Yeah, like there's like 4 different concepts in this episode alone, probably more knowing Moffat. And all of them would be interesting in their own. So it kind of like, you watch this episode and you feel a bit cheated that you're not spending more time exploring one concept because you know you've got to rush to the other. Like at least, I think, 15, 20 minutes, like a good third of the runtime is just is just a montage of the Doctor living in the hotel, being someone to this person who I assume owns the hotel. And like, that's not even the plot of the episode. You could cut that entire part out of the episode and you would not realize you've lost anything. It doesn't entirely even inform. Like, it's not as if the episode pays it off. It does kind of pay off. Like, the Doctor has this whole thing about, being lonely and pushing people away, and think about how a hotel room is yourself at your most, how you set up a hotel room is yourself at the most vulnerable. But you could pay that off just as well if we didn't see it. Like, we don't need to see it to fill in the gaps, is what I'm saying. I'm not saying like it was bad that we did see it, but I'm saying it's the fact that we spent so long doing it. Clearly Moffat wrote the episode and was like, oh, this is an interesting concept I want to explore, and then explored it for like 20 minutes when it could have been an entire episode, or it could have been none of the episode. And that's like true of everything else. The whole idea of seeing, like, having a hotel where different time periods were different rooms, were different time periods, and like using elements from each time period to solve the problem of the day, I felt was very interesting. Like the finale where the Doctor basically grabbed literally every single Chekhov's gun. I mean, Chekhov's gun is an elusive term because, like, it's not just the rope wasn't highlighted early. It's a Chekhov's gun without being Chekhov's gun. It's a Chekhov's gun, but it wasn't like explicitly foreshadowed. But obviously, like, the rope, it came from the mountain scene. The use of the train, I guess a train is a Chekhov gun. Use of the train to pull the rope. Whatever else kind of happened in that, like the idea of like pulling different bits and pieces in different time periods and using that as to MacGyver a solution is very Doctor Who. That could have been its entire concept in and of itself. Going back to Jurassic 65 million years ago, Earth could have been a concept of itself. And the thing is that because we spent this entire time period with this other character who, bless her, the actress doesn't even get like top billing. Like I feel like I connect more emotionally with Anita than I do with Joy, but Joy is the second billing character in the episode, and Joy is the nominal character, the character who the episode is named after. And sure, she gets that big emotional thing about not having been with her mother during COVID when her mother died, but I felt more emotional resonant like connection with Anita's character, who isn't even like a primary member of the cast. Seems a bit unfair. Paul thinks it's an awful episode. I wouldn't say it was awful. There were certainly Christmas specials I dislike more. I'm probably gonna rank it somewhere along the lines of A Christmas Carol, of how it's this episode. And Moffat does this a lot. Moffat likes to use specials to explore concepts and then loosely put them together in a plot. I mean, which Jodie Whittaker's episode, Paul? Because like there's this whole spectrum of really fantastic Jodie Whittaker episodes and really bad Jodie Whittaker episodes, which is similar to everything else. Like you need to quantify it. Certainly, there are better Jodie Whittaker episodes, but there are also worse Jodie Whittaker episodes. I wouldn't say it wasn't boring. It was entertaining because the concepts were interesting. I would have preferred to have seen these dealt with separately rather than tied together. And the thing of the episode that confuses me, and the idea of the Doctor can't can't go back on their own timeline being circumvented because this is a hotel room where everything is linked together anyway, is an interesting concept. But it's not even the main part of the episode. Well, it is, but it's sharing it with two other concepts. That's my main issue with the episode. And it's something that Moffat does a lot. So I'm not like shocked and surprised that a Moffat Christmas special did this. And it's kind of, well, if you get Moffat to write a Christmas special, it's kind of what you expect. I don't know why you're deleting your messages, Paul. You're making fairly like okay opinions that we can explore. And also they're already in the video anyway now, so too late. The part of the episode that I don't get the most is why Joy needed to sacrifice herself. I mean, as much as the episode is trying to frame it as a rebirth rather than a sacrifice, you essentially are. It is suicide. Joy suicided herself, which is very dark for a Christmas special. I don't think that was the intent. But I can't, it wasn't a sacrifice. There was no real reason for Joy to do what she did. Unless I missed something. The Doctor already had a plan, which nothing signified wasn't going to work, of grabbing the suitcase, putting it in the TARDIS, going deep into space and chucking it out the door. And as far as we know, that would have worked as a plan. But Joy took it on herself to absorb the seed into herself. Also, a lot of the time, episode runtime we spend with Joy, I think about half, if not more than half of the time we spend with Joy, she's not actually herself, she's possessed. I mean, it is a possession where you still like keep a lot of your characteristics as a person, but she's she's brainwashed. So we learn even less about Joy as a character. And really the only thing we learn from her is that she is resentful and remorseful that she wasn't able to be with her mother when her mother died during COVID. And yeah, we're finally getting to that period of time now where it's becoming a bit more less taboo to make plots about COVID. I remember during the entirety of like Doctor Who, not Doctor Who in particular, but like there was that lockdown special that they made during lockdown, where they were like being very coy about their references to COVID happening, but that was clearly what they were referencing was COVID, but they didn't mention COVID by name. And TV as a whole was like that. Every time someone wanted to set something contemporarily, wanted to set something during COVID, they were being very coy about mentioning COVID because they wasn't sure if it's too sensitive to make a plot out of a crisis we were currently living through. Not that we're not still living through COVID, because there's still a pandemic and it's still ongoing, but whatever. Everyone else in the world is pretending that isn't the case. But yeah, the only thing we learn about Joy is that she is remorseful over that one thing. which kind of and you know, she spends every Christmas alone to kind of like escape from that, and that kind of like suggests her entire motivation of turning herself into a sun was, it's very like suicide coded, because a lot of people like, I'm a suicide first aider, and like a lot of the reasons why people go to that point is because they think it's the most applicable solution for them to like, they're not, people who suicide don't suicide because they necessarily want to die. They suicide because they need a extreme life change, and that's like the most extreme life change that you can do. And so if you take that kind of thesis of suicide and apply it to Joy, who is struggling with her current sense of life and sees this becoming the sun as a change, but lets her kind of make up. Also, how does she travel back in time? So like, it's not really like clear how. Oh well, I guess because she turns into a sun at 0001, even though, you know, the idea of Jesus being born 0001 is more or less debunked as whatever, is a historical fact. But by the by, okay, I answered my own question there. But anyway, no, like her turning into the sun so that she could actually go and be with her mother during her mother's death, and I guess absorb her mother into herself, which kind of asks the question of why she wasn't also confused as to why her mother disappeared on her deathbed, but I guess we forget that part as well. Essentially, that's pretty dark when you think about the connotations of what happened there. Like, because the episode didn't make it clear, didn't signify that Joy needed to sacrifice herself. Like, it wasn't like there was, like, if she hadn't done that, so it's not like a bittersweet moment where if she hadn't done that, Alexa, turn off lights. Like, it's not as if there was like a suggestion, but if she hadn't sacrificed herself, it would have exploded and killed everyone, and so she had to do that. But it was a bittersweet win because it meant that she could be with her mother. No, it seems to be a choice. That was a takeaway I got from that, and I might be missing something, and maybe someone else will point out to me. But that seems to be the implication, which makes it darker because it basically codes Joy's end as a suicide. Yeah, it's not. I wouldn't say it's bad because it explores interesting concepts, but additionally, it kind of like I mean, I would have preferred it if they explored those concepts as like separate episodes. You know, it very much did not go in a direction I thought it would go in. It kind of went into every direction. So yeah, I that was my thoughts. It was an episode. It isn't my favorite, but it's not bad. So yeah, I don't really have much more. I mean, there was some. Oh, so I laughed out loud when like the reveal at the end was Bethlehem. And you see the 3 camels and the star. I'm like, yeah, that was the other concept. Stephen Moffat clearly wanted to canonize the nativity into Doctor Who. And it was like, oh, this is my excuse to do that. I will say Ncuti Gatwa as a performer did very well in this episode. There were some really like good moments. There were some moments where I feel like material let him down, but I feel like there's some moments where it let him kind of shine. Yeah, it you know, it just was very much a Moffat. Well, Moffat has done some good Christmas specials, but it's usually when he kind of reins it back in, and I think he wasn't really reining things back in here. And I'm not sure also why Velengard didn't win. Like, Joy says something about, oh, we're outside the range, or Velengard can't reach us now. I'm like, why? I mean, this was their plan. Admittedly, the sun didn't blow up on Earth, it blew up away from Earth, but I'm not, you know, a sun's a sun, right? I mean, as far as I can tell, or was it just like not bright? I don't know. So yeah, that was my thoughts. We got a quick preview of next season. It was very kind of quick, some brief images. I think it's implied that we're gonna see the Doctor face off against the Daleks next season. We see Ruby, I guess, working for UNIT, which is a mess at the moment with how Series is depicting it. So yeah, that's my thoughts on this episode. I'm now going to end the stream and get up a reaction video for the Warzone Grommet Vengeance Most Foul, because I also watched that. That's why we're reacting to this an hour later rather than straight after. So I will see you all soon. Get my house.